What do you think of when you hear the word culture? Some people mean posh things like opera, art galleries and universities. Others use it to cover a group's shared beliefs, values, customs and behaviours. People talk of school culture, teen culture, high culture, pop culture, Western culture, Indigenous culture, global culture, workplace culture, counterculture, even cyber culture. Well, culture isn't simple. For one thing, cultures evolve. For another, we're part of several at once: ethnic, religious, institutional, geographic. Our culture or cultures largely shape us, but we in turn shape the culture. And that culture is often many-sided, even self-contradictory. Wikipedia says Australians in Australian culture place a high value on individual rights and dignity. Yet if you're one of the 80,000 unborn children aborted in Australia each year, or one of our Indigenous people, or one of our 4,300 modern slaves, or one of the thousands of refugees knocking at our door, or one of the 100,000 sleeping homeless each night, you might have some doubts about our human rights conscious Australian culture. Who would have imagined a generation ago that there would be a bill right now before the New South Wales Parliament to legalise abortion right up to birth and even after birth if the baby slips through the abortion net and is accidentally born alive? Or that we'd have legislation in the federal parliament to protect religious believers against discrimination, because that can no longer be taken for granted. Or that we'd have to fight to keep Catholic schools accessible and affordable to all who want them. Every generation must re-examine and purify and strengthen its culture. With so many uses and implications, we can be more than a bit vague on what culture really is. Our word comes, of course, from the Latin root cultus, from which we get words like cultivate and viticulture. Cultus meant tilling and taming the earth, planting and nurturing things in it, or otherwise working hard at things. It's about what we're willing to invest ourselves in. So what is your cultus, your culture? Echoing Paul's epistle today to the Colossians, what is it that you create, visible and invisible? This morning we heard how each of you has participated in youth festivals, retreats and immersions, fundraised for great causes, led or served in your schools, parishes or wider communities, been regular at Mass and devotions, assisted in altar serving, ministering or liturgical music making, worked with children, youth, the elderly, the poor, the homeless, the Indigenous, the refugees, inspired those living with disabilities or other disadvantages, or served in building up our community and planet. It was easy to see what you have invested yourselves in. You've cultivated yourselves, but others have cultivated you also. Your school's beliefs, values and customs, carried by its present leaders and teachers, your peers and closest friends, your school culture has been significant in shaping the fine young women and men that you are. Even more importantly, your family's ideals, traditions and practices, carried by grandparents, parents and siblings. Your family culture has also shaped you enormously. On behalf of our awardees, a very special thank you and congratulations to their teachers, friends and families. The cultures of care, compassion and excellence that you've supported are embodied in these young heroes. Kultus was the word used by the ancients to describe tilling, nurturing and labouring at something. Hence, as I said, our words cultivate and viticulture and so on. But the word was also used for honouring, reverencing or worshipping something. Hence our words cult and cultic. If you look at the display that's been put up for Our Lady's forthcoming birthday, that's an example of Catholic cultus, culture or cult. The ancients understood the inseparable connection between behaviour and beliefs, what you do and what you value, between human labour and commitment to the gods as its driving force and principle. Echoing Paul's epistle to the Colossians that we heard this morning, once again, to create is to embody the fullness of God, creating and sustaining all things, reconciling and making peace. As I heard the testimonies to our award recipients this morning, I was convinced that our young heroes have cultivated and were cultivated in a truly Christian family, school and parish culture. One in which gospel beliefs and values are key. Faith, hope and love are preeminent virtues, and these are regularly expressed in action. And so, my young friends, on the cusp of a new stage of your lives, I invite you to consider what your cultus will be, what kind of culture you will immerse yourself in and in turn cultivate in the years ahead. You've made a good start already, as today's awards recognise. When some people around us today say young people aren't up to much anymore, that they're only interested in themselves, in getting ahead, in accumulating devices and multiplying experiences, you demonstrate that the opposite is true. That young people can have deep faith, high ideals, and throw themselves into worthy projects, heart and soul. In a society increasingly deaf to such faith and idealism, you show that young people are capable of greatness. Our Australian culture needs you more than ever if we are to be the civilization of life and love God is calling us to be. Congratulations. God bless you.